Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us today on our Positioned for Purpose Conversations with Colette Marie podcast. I'm your host, Colette Marie. Yes, our podcast is for women of faith who struggle to see God in the places of pain and hardship and who need a reminder, a gentle reminder that right where you are, God will use you in the mess, in the hardships, in your most challenging times, in your heartaches and in your pain. God has a greater plan for your story. Romans 8:28 states, "For we know that all things work together for good to them that love God and are the called according to his purpose." Today's conversation will be on, "Can you hear me now?" If you listened to our first episode last week, you'd have heard me talk about having voiceless moments. I thought it was a critical way to start our conversation and my podcast journey in telling you the importance of knowing your voice, recognize what stole it, and how it can be restored. As I reflect on the past and something that the Lord showed me in 2020 that blew my mind. Well, you know, if my mind blew then, it has come back into place, right? The pieces are back together. Anywho, listen, as he showed me the reason why I lost my voice, he also allowed me to see that it was all tied to my confidence. So, talking today about "Can you hear me now?" is talking about what stole my confidence and what stole my voice. Having a voiceless moment really boils down for me in that it is my inability to articulate for my own self, my own needs. Being a voice of change for my own self and for my community as well. As I look back, there were times that I was in places where I had thoughts, but I was smalling up myself because I thought that my thoughts had no matter, that my thoughts were meaningless. And so I kept silence. I kept them to myself. Let me share something with you from my book, Identity Restored. Going through this pandemic in 2020 has been a deciding season in my life. I did not want to enter a new season the same way I had done before. One morning I was reading a LinkedIn post. The author wrote about losing his voice and he shared the reason he lost it. That article exposed my hurt and revealed to me that I had lost my voice as well. Prayerfully, I asked the Lord to tell me how and at what point I lost the ability to be who he created me to be. The answer came as I stepped in the shower that morning. I lost my voice when I believed I was a nobody. I lost my voice and I lost myself and believed the lies the enemy fed me. This revelation touched a chord deep in my soul. The weight of this hit me hard. I didn't lose my voice because my parents thought far less of me, nor did I lose sight of myself because kids were unkind to me. I lost both when I allowed others to define me with their opinion of what beauty looks like. Can I tell you something? When I wrote this book in 2020, the Lord said specifically to me, when you speak about your life. Speak about what I have given you to write in this book. And I have been running away from it. Though I have a Facebook Live called Positioned for Purpose and I was talking to others, I felt like I was using the voice of others to drown my own voice out. No, I was quick to get guests without developing my own voice. And so even as he speaks to me about doing this podcast, I wanted to tell you that for me is a test to develop my own voice. Yes, we're going to have guests on our podcast because I wanted to hear the voice of others as well. But if you're going to be journeying with me, you're going to hear my voice and you're going to hear the development of my voice. Because what it is that it is going to be a catalyst for change in the lives of those whom God has called me to serve. There was a point in my life when I was ashamed of hearing my own voice. I didn't like how it sounded. And I don't want to tell you the words that I would have used to define my voice. So now I'm at a point where I actually like listening to myself. My kids would say, Mommy, I don't know of anyone else who listens to their voice as much as you do. However, if you understand where I'm coming from, you would now understand why my voice has meaning to me. Recognizing the power of your voice is very critical. Because can I tell you something? The enemy do not want us to use our voice. He does not want us to use our voices to be a catalyst for change for the women, for our children who need to hear us, who need to hear the advice that we have to give, who need to hear the prayers that we need to pray for them. He will use anything and anyone to shut us down, to shut us up, to keep us in a place of silence, to keep us up in a place where we think that our voice has no meaning, where we think that our voice has no place in our home, in our workplaces, in our society. Can I tell you something today? Your voice is powerful. If you do not know that, if you have forgotten about the weight of your voice, Colette Marie is coming to tell you today that your voice has power. But with power comes a responsibility. Because I understand now fully the weight of my voice and that God has gifted me with a voice to make a change, I have to know how to use it responsibly. Use it responsibly in what I say, in the prayers that I pray, in the comments that I make, in the things that I say about myself and the things that I say about others. Today, you may not have a voiceless moment, but do you know of a sister, perhaps your child, a friend, someone who has been struggling with speaking up for themselves? If you know such a person, may I ask you to say to them, do you know why you're not talking up for yourself? Have you ever thought about just praying about it and ask the Lord? Because sometimes we need something to spark that reflection, something for us to go and start looking back. Listen, looking in the rearview mirror is very important, because if you don't look back, you don't know how to proceed forward. And so as the Lord would have allowed me to see how over the years I have allowed my voice to deteriorate to the point that I found it hard to speak up for myself. And until I asked him that question, until I believe I was in the season where God wanted to use my voice, was when I know that I had to know what caused it. Self-confidence is something that steals us of our identity. And part of our identity is using our voice. My voice was restored when I was able to see the picture that the Lord showed me and understood that in the moments when I used my voice, that things changed. And he was saying, Colette, if you want to partner with me, if you really truly want to be positioned for my purpose, using your voice right where you are in the seasons that you are, you have to understand that knowing what caused the erosion is twice as important as knowing the weight that your voice carries. The people whom I've called you to serve, they need your voice in this season. They need you to speak up for them. but you can't speak up for them until you're able to speak up for yourself. So today on, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me speaking to you? Can you hear me saying to you? It does not matter where you are. It doesn't matter the challenges, the heartaches, the hardships that you have been through. God has always been there. He's always seen you. He knows where you are at. And He's saying right where you are at, speak up for someone else. Be that catalyst for change. I know that you're going through a challenging time, but He's saying, be a difference maker in someone else's life. Thank you for joining me today on Can You Hear Me Now? Talking about the importance of using our voice, recognizing what stole our voice, and knowing that our voice is restored to be used for God's glory and for His greater honor for those women, those people whom He has called us to serve. Blessings, and see you next week on Positioned for Purpose, Conversations with Colette Marie. If you enjoyed this week's episode and found value in it, would you consider liking, subscribing on either Apple, Spotify, or iHeart Podcast? Share with a friend or leave a review on the show. You doing that helps to allow other persons to find this podcast and also make it be a blessing to them. Looking forward to see you next week.